Yep. All right, let's call this meeting to order. February 13, 25, Waldeboro Planning Board. March, sorry, reading the agenda.
It was a test.
March 13. We have a quorum tonight. We have 4 of 5 members present. Item 2 is adjustments to the agenda. Anyone have any adjustments? Hearing none. Citizen comments. Anyone here with comments that are unrelated to the subdivision that we're talking about tonight? Okay. Well, let's move into the after the effect amendment for Beech Ridge subdivision.
So we have Ann, who's the applicant on Zoom. Ann, you're
Present. Yes, I am.
Ann, would you like to sort of explain what we're doing here tonight?
Well, I bought my property maybe 30 years ago, and in 2001, I subdivided it with Abden Simmons in half, and I continued to develop the land. And I built a house. I had a mobile home for my family on the front, and I subdivided it and had a land surveyor come in and draw up all the necessity paperwork to be registered with the registry. I hired a lawyer to write up the deeds, and she did, and they got registered. I ended up getting very sick with aorta operations. And when I was there, I created a business, a fish business. And my building got large and big. And the town told me I needed to put in a new septic system for that. And that was going to be expensive. And I had to go up north to get taken care of. So I had to move from the home. I did the best I could to maintain the people that were there and try to keep the house in order and in fit condition and the property fit. And I did that. Anyway, I didn't realize that the surveys and the deeds, it didn't go through subdivision. I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that. And then, I don't know, in 2012 or 13, the town told me they was going to take 2 of my lots for back taxes because I must have been sick and didn't get it done. So I went down to the bank that day and I got them the money they wanted. And then they wrote me my deeds back to my land. So I had no idea in my mind that it wasn't done right. It was never my intention. Anyway, I've done the best I could to maintain the properties down there on Flanders Corner Road. In the meantime, the town decided to name the road that I had built, which was all right. Don't bother me none. You know, I wasn't even down there. And then by 2017, I had to get all those vagrant renters out of there. And I went down home for 3 months straight. Every day I worked on that property, clean up that house because I knew the taxes were going to need to be paid and I couldn't pay $15,000 in taxes and I couldn't pay $50,000 for a new septic system. So I just said, you know what? Just let the town take the house because I can't do it. I'm 70 years old and I just don't know what to do. So I knew the house was going to go to bid. I wanted to make sure my house was spotless. My property was clean. And the house went to sale and Abden Simmons bought it. At the time Abden Simmons bought it, I told him that there's 3 lots there and I'd been taxed on them for many, many years. But to no regard, Abden's people and the abutters down there destroyed my property, transgressed against it, and made decisions without my permission. And now we've come to a term to where there's issues with the subdivision that I got notified about, I think in late November of 2024. And so now I'm here with you because the town said I had to do it after the fact subdivision. So that's what I'm here to do. I don't know really how to do it all, but I'm doing it. Whatever you say, I'm making it happen.
Can I ask you some questions?
Yes,
Uh,
please.
Do you still own any of these lots that are part of this subdivision that was improperly documented?
I own the front lot and the back lot. Abden owns the house lot.
What's the
He
house?
bought, I bought my lots back from the town and Abden bought his house from the town.
Yeah.
The town of Waldeboro.
I can
And-
jump.
Sure.
So I have two deeds registered to myself.
Okay,
Barbara, to answer your question, that's lots 39-3 and 39-3B. Still belong to them. And then the one that she's referring that Abden owns is 39-3A.
Where's 39-3? It's tiny, I can't read it.
You asked,
Why ask for a big map?
you asked me like an hour this thing. This middle one,
That's
the one, that's one Abden owns, that's 39-3A. 39-3 is one that she owns, and then this one, 3B.
She owns on the road and the one in the back.
Correct.
Okay.
So-
One in the front.
So if I can just say, this was originally subdivided in the early 2000s where the lots 39-3, 39-3A, and 3B were one lot. 39-2 and 39-5, which is the far north one, that was one lot. 39-4, that was its own lot, and then 39-1 was the fourth lot. That's what the original subdivision was. I know it's missed. And what happened was in 2010, around that era, which is the plot that you all have, that new subdivision happened. But under the Maine state statute, when more lots are created, regardless of whether that happened within a 5-year period or not, needs to come back to the planning board for a subdivision amendment.
So there was a subdivision before this one,
Correct.
and we don't have a copy of what it looks like, and it's not relevant in your mind that we need to know about that.
That's not as relevant because it still keeps the general boundary line that you see there.
Mhm.
And we're mostly focusing on what these lot lines currently are. That was done in 2010.
And then we go from here to here, there's
It's
two
roughly the
more,
same.
but there are
it's the
two
same.
more lots in here? I'm seeing two lines.
There's in total,
yeah, this one here was split in half. And so is this one, according to the tax map.
According to this, yes,
Yes.
so there's more lots than there's
in total,
on here.
it started out as a 4-lot subdivision that was approved legally. But then 3 more lots were created
That's the original
without going
one.
to the planning board.
Not talking about mine, it's the original.
That
one.
3 more lots were created.
It's when country.
There were 2 lots that were cut off of 1 lot, right?
Correct.
Okay,
So
and so I don't have any idea what the original. The original lot or the second lot or the third lot are. Based on what we've been talking about so far, how do we understand this?
I can highlight them and show them. But that's
Okay.
why I'm trying to just emphasize 39-3B, 3A, and 3. Those 3 lots originally were 1. But then were created as 3 illegally. And then 39-5 and 39-2, that was 1 lot, and that was illegally split,
By whom?
the applicant. Back in 2010.
So going from 2009, which this is, right? So 1 year later, more lots were split. This is 2009, you said 2010.
No, that's 2010. That subdivision that you're seeing was 2010.
Right, so 2009 on the plan.
Is the applicant Ann Crowell?
No, that's my neighbor, and I bought a chunk of land off of her that abutted my lot. And I gave that lot an easement in the right of way to get to that piece of land.
So Ann Crowell divided that lot?
Yes, she did. She owed back taxes to town of Waldeboro. They're gonna take her property. She asked me if I'd help her out, so I bought a piece of land to cover her taxes. That abutted my property.
Okay.
And I believe that happened maybe back in 2006.
Which lot is that? Is that the one that is,
I'll get it out and let you see here in a sec.
is it 39-5?
I'll tell you.
Is it this one that they're talking about, Max? So you
Yeah.
can read
It's
them.
not marked. It's marked as Greg Lovelace, dated 6/26/08.
That's 39-5.
And if you can see this map, it would be this lot right here. Going up the road, it would be off to the right,
That is-
behind Abden Simmons's property.
Okay. So I guess, I'm confused what the hangup is, and why we're here tonight.
They said I had to do an after the fact subdivision because it was done and now it's after the fact.
Okay,
Because the plot that you see, that's big 11/17, that needed to come before the planning board. and
Okay.
It never did.
okay,
So that's why technically the lots really weren't split under the state size farm statute. So that's why we're going through the subdivision process.
So
okay.
shouldn't all the lots be presented as a subdivision?
No, because the very southern one, 39-1, that boundary line isn't changing, and 39-4, that lot's not gonna change.
Oh, this lot isn't divided, that's a one.
That's a
Max, I
what?
have a question. On this, notice of violation dated
No, I was copying your
1/17.
I
line.
thought this was,
2025. Why is it taking so long, the town, to say there's a violation, and then it says there's a second notice? What is that? Is it just catching up after how many years?
I wasn't aware of the subdivision violation until I was told about the one that Lovely owns, trying to sell and
Right.
being asked, well, where's the proof that it was done, the subdivision was done? I didn't have anything to verify that. So I asked if there was one that was recorded, and I was given this one that you can see on the left side of the 11/17, doesn't have the planning board signatures. I couldn't find it in the registry of deeds,
Right.
so
So is
that's,
somebody trying to sell something now? Or build?
I
something?
would,
Is that what precipitated
yes,
this?
pretty much. And so for that second violation, it was just saying, we sent the first, we're sending you a second one.
And how does road access, just curious, happen to those back lots?
Ma'am, can I answer that? I had a 50-foot road built. There's a road built there now. When the original land was split, I think 25 years ago, the road wasn't exactly where it was supposed to be. It needed to be moved over to the left. But Abden and I really didn't care. It wasn't a big deal. And so then when the subdivision got created with this James Matheson and did all his pinning and marking, he made sure that my road was at least 50 or 60 feet wide, and that any property to abut it or any building would be at least 50 feet from the edge of the road. And then that road goes all the way up to the back lot, the original subdivision with Country Properties, or the original subdivision with me and Abden in 2001.
okay. So we need to do a subdivision on this.
Yeah.
That's basically,
Yep.
this is a pre-application meeting. We're talking through what's going to be required.
Yep.
So, It seems very straightforward to me.
Yeah, there are some items that I've filled in. With the meeting canceled last month, there were some items I was gonna bring up at that meeting, but I let her know in an email. I just want to repeat for planning board members. First,
Okay.
there will have to be a new land survey, just because this one in 2010 I've already confirmed with the registry of deeds can't be accepted. The original one, is right over there, right beneath the TV.
The one that I just showed you.
Yeah.
We have to redo it.
Has to be redone because it's been folded up, sprinkled, registry of deeds won't take that. It's also a bit torn and has some handwritten notes, and there have been changes that have happened over time. And I believe the one who, Dale Matheson, who did that, I believe is retired according to Daryl, so someone will have to redo this. Second is that we've already touched on the road just a bit, but it does have to meet the modern 2025 standards, so. And saying that it's already 50 feet wide, we just have to confirm that. But also the fire and EMS department said that there needs to be a dead end turnaround. That's something that's just outlined in the ordinance.
And
Yep.
excuse me, I will have a lawyer draw up a new deed after I get the land surveyor to cut out a piece of property off the 9 acres to make the turnaround. And I will complete this with a new survey map, the road numbers correctly divided to make the turnaround with a new deed for the 9.5 acres. So it won't be 9.5 acres anymore. The turnaround will be part of the road.
Okay.
So that would be owned by whatever butters would be on that road. Do you understand that?
And just a little bit on that, Barbara, you were asking about it, how can 2 of those lots get access? That's another thing that has to be reflected on the updated survey.
The plan for that access.
Yeah,
I've got a question about this turnaround. This road appears to terminate on the property of Abden and April Simmons. Are
I have to intervene that. I have a right of way in my deeds that I'm allowed to go up to the top of my ridge, to the top of my property through Abden's. So that's still a right of way. And it's in Lee's deed. Lee or Destiny Robinson should have it in her deed as well.
they're the new owners of that lot that you're talking about.
Of the Simmons lot,
Yeah, the one that's marked Simmons on
is
Right.
there's new ownership, okay.
there. Yes, and they're the ones
That's who wrote this thing.
Yes, and they're in the audience.
Okay.
Um,
So I that didn't really answer my question. You said you were gonna put a turnaround in at the end of this road and cut off a piece of land, but it looks like the road ends on those
Well, it does,
lots.
you know, because the Destiny Robinson's owns that whole 13.5 acres. That's her property. But she still can get to it. It's still hers. She has a right to go through the road. All I'm going to do is go to the left and take off probably what, a 1/2 acre to make a turnaround. That's it. And when the land surveyor makes out those pins, the lawyer will write the deed.
I think she's saying she's gonna redesign it. You're gonna come up to these lots and do the turnaround.
So this road doesn't exist that's shown here,
Yes, it does, but it needs a turnaround.
but you're not gonna
It's
put the turnaround at the end of the road?
it's just gonna be extended.
No, that would have to go on the top of the ridge, and that's up to Destiny and her people. I don't need to disturb them. I just can take it off of my own land. And add it to the road, which all abutters will get an easement to. Through a deed.
Okay, I guess we'll see it when we have the new design.
The only other 3 items I had, all weirdly enough road related. One is that road and setback requirements need to be met, so. You see the one building that's on there, it does need to meet the 75-foot distance from the road and 30 feet from the property line. So that has to be reflected in the final map as well.
You're saying you just want the actual dimension on the plan?
Yeah, the setback distance house that's on 39-3A, the building that was just talked about.
Yeah.
That
The
will be
road has to
5
get
feet
moved.
from the final road.
Oh, they
has
already
to be
know it.
30 feet
Already
from
told
the
them.
property lines that are final property lines.
Okay.
And then John Daigle from Public Works Department said that he did have a concern about the entrance that connects Beach Ridge to Flanders Corner. There's a hill or something that's to the north of that entrance that cuts down the site distance. He would just like to see that addressed if that's possible.
Beach Ridge is the name of this road.
Yep, of the subdivision. And then the last item I have is that for a residential subdivision, we usually do have a requirement, doesn't happen that often, but it is required to have a road maintenance agreement where the people who are on that private road have an understanding of paying back for like snow plowing, maintenance of the road. and whatnot.
They need to pay us right now.
That's just something I'll raise right now, but that's something that, and we'll have to deal with the people who live at the subdivision.
Okay.
Hopefully have that agreement, the preliminary or even the final. But those are all items I had.
Okay.
So do I understand this correctly? There are 4 owners of 5 lots. Is that a good synopsis?
3, 4.
4,
4,
just 4. There would be Anna Ducat, Abden Simmons, Greg Lovely, Destiny Robinson.
I thought Abden sold his lot.
No,
He sold that back lot to Destiny Robinson.
Right, then you got
so I'll also just say that we do have a few people in the audience. I assume many of them actually are in the subdivision, so they could certainly speak about which one they own if we're gonna allow their.
But is that correct? There's 4 owners and 5 different lots? Do I have that right?
I'm looking at,
Correct.
Okay. Okay, got it.
three.
So this, just out of curiosity, I'm sure this comes up a lot, this total back lot.
Mhm.
Well, she used to own that and that, right?
yes,
So that's sort of makes sense, looking at the history of it. But, so this could not ever be sold until this road becomes legal. Beach Ridge becomes
It-
legal by the way. and all that stuff.
it can be sold, but the code enforcement officer would not be allowed to issue any building permits.
Okay.
All right. Seems super straightforward, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't understand the comments from Mr. Bennett here. But I do have a question before we talk about that. I guess if we're doing a subdivision after the fact. What needs to be shown on this site plan? Does it need to be the current as-built condition today?
Yes.
Not a historical record of when it was actually divided?
Utilities and everything as of today.
So what about the lot that was divided but not by Annie?
The lovely
The
property.
lovely property.
It's undeveloped, I believe.
It's not developed.
You want it to be surveyed as part of the subdivision?
Yes.
It's already surveyed, sir, and it's already having 30-foot culvert put across the road so that they have access to get to their lot. And I already have an easement deed written and it's already attached in the registry for that property to have a right of way from that Beechwood Road to that 2-acre lot.
I guess, let me jump in there. Why does that have anything to do with you? You didn't sell that lot.
It's all part of the same subdivision.
It's
And-
just part of the subdivision.
Which one is the lovely lot?
You sold it.
It's Greg Lovely's and I did sell it to him.
Okay.
Got it from Man Crow.
I traded a house for it.
Max, does the town, I mean, this seems like, again, I'm no lawyer, I'm certainly no, but were they just breaking these up?
She
and there's
brought it back.
An ordinance that you can't do that, and people were just dividing it up without getting the town's approval? And why didn't the town,
Town did it, we didn't. do it.
and how could they, the town have let that go? If we're here now talking about this.
There are some people who just split the lots, and usually the realtors have a lot
We
of
didn't do the deed.
due
I
diligence
know.
to get that information and the approval from the town showing that the lots were
Well,
done.
that's my question, so there's no stopgap in the town office that says,
Well, but all these splits were happening in 2010. I wasn't here at that time. And I can't speak for anyone else at the town office, I guess.
it just seems like this should have been some oversight.
But there's people who also sell and don't come to the town and ask. Like, these are problems I'm seeing outside of Walden.
I see.
But that's why I'm doing this now.
They recognize that subdivision and put their road in.
No paying a penalty for this lack of oversight now for.
I mean,
we're just trying to write this
I-
ship?
I'm trying to write this because
Okay.
fortunately, no other building permits have done. We haven't hit that
Yeah,
three that actually triggers a lot of issues right now. But I'm trying to get this corrected so that whoever does eventually buy a lot of these new lots don't have to come back and we're trying to scramble 5 or 6 different people dealing with this.
so when we hear from these nice people, they're gonna give us insight into what has happened.
I don't know what they're gonna say. I know what Lee Bennett's gonna say and I gave you his comments.
Is Lee Bennett here?
Pretty.
All right, before we.
Yes, where is it? Right here, right there.
Anything else we need to talk about as far as what we're looking for as a planning board for
No, tonight,
documents.
the whole point of the pre-application at this point is just to give some recommendations to the applicants so they're aware of what to do on the next land survey that they're gonna.
Okay, Lee, would you come up to the podium and sort of detail your comments here?
Yep. So basically, when they did their subdivision, it was owned, by Abby Simmons at the time in 2010. We bought the property in 2020.
By which lot and.
Yep, 80 Beach Ridge Road. I'm not sure what you actually have it marked down with.
Let me tell you, I'll tell you.
Hey,
That would be the big lot in the white here, right here. This is the big lot that Lee's talking about.
The one in the back. Okay.
Yep, on the right side.
Okay.
Okay,
So the problems I had with it, the map that they brought before you guys doesn't have the existing, power wasn't run up through the roadway before. We moved up there, had power installed. We had power poles put in for internet, ran fiber optic cable all the way up the road and all that. That map didn't show any detailed, where the poles were put or anything else for setbacks for the new driveway, that they planned on building. That was one concern I had. Another one is, I built a garage up there, on our property, 24 by 36. I also, we brought a mobile home up there, built an addition off it, and that's also the way they're planning on going up through that driveway. It's gonna be driving right through, our
Right on the
door.
road.
excuse me.
Um,
I have no plans on transgressing through your drive or your right of way, or my right of way, because I don't want to be down there. And I will extract that from my deed, so
Yeah.
nobody else can go up there either.
As long as you get access.
Annie, please let him finish. You'll have all the time you want to respond.
And also it looks by the subdivision that she's put before you, it looks like right where my property is, about 850 feet up the property. She's looking to go hard left into her property, and she's not looking to go up to the top of the pin, which the deed, expressly says her right of way goes up to the property pin at the end of the property. That's where her right of way runs to. And she's trying to hook a hard left, long before the end of the property.
You just
to get
put
to her
access
property.
on that. Tell 'em what
If you look on the map, that's put before you, you can see the curve, in the driveway that she's trying to put in. And it doesn't-
That she went way up here, then
That the deed says she has to go up there.
that's what you would prefer? I mean,
That's-
she's
that's-
right, I
He says
don't
we got it
know
right away,
what
right
it
to
is.
your
He's
land.
Making a new
She
design.
wrote the deed up. It's where she wanted to go evidently, because that's what she put in the deed back in 2001.
So this is
Nope. Nope,
The
on your-
road's not there. The driveway goes up as far as I would say it's about 600 feet up the driveway. She would have to continue the driveway to be built another 750, 800 feet roughly, without measuring it, just a rough.
Now, there were some talks earlier about the road being redesigned to probably be closer to where all the properties are being met. Are you open to a design on the?
I'm not sure why she wants, it doesn't make sense to me if you look at the property map. I don't know why she wants to run all the way up through our property. I know she has a right of way and that's not what I'm arguing. I don't know why she wouldn't just, she has a 50-foot right of way up to the beginning of our property. And then her land starts right there. I don't know why she doesn't just want to hit her driveway right there and build her own driveway up through her own property. But,
When you bought this land, you never saw this 2009 survey?
no.
Okay.
So anyway, I don't know why she wants to just all of a sudden want to build a driveway, all up through our property. She was trying to sell the property to us, but ever since we denied, buying it, it just seems like she's been, haggling us and trying to force us to buy it, and we're not gonna buy it. Another thing we got, to put before you guys on my deed, and I brought it to the town's attention already. And Smoking Annie put it in the deed that she's only supposed to subdivide that property one time. And I can only subdivide my property one time. She subdivided that property multiple times and it was done illegally. So, and that's something that's gonna be addressed very shortly. I'm not sure when your next meeting is, but I'm sure you'll have some legal paperwork from a lawyer on that. So that's another thing that you guys will have to take a peek at. And I also want to know what's gonna happen, with these properties if the subdivision don't get approved.
So I can answer those two
Sure.
last ones.
Yeah.
The one on the deed with what your deed says about not splitting anymore. That's similar to when we've been dealing with private covenants placed on subdivisions. That's something the board really can't force too much. That's
Oh, yeah.
that's a civil item. We can proceed, but if a plan is ultimately approved, there would be some language in there that notes that it's on the assumption that there are no issues, but it would be advisable to have that addressed before a plan is brought before the planning board, just so it's cleared up. As for what happens if it is not approved, it gets messy and more into civil.
Max, to your point, Lee.
Yeah.
So we're the planning board, we're not lawyers, right? Isn't a lot of this, is there more legal ramifications that have to be done before people try to move forward? I mean,
They
we're not a
might come up
court.
Right, but then I pick them up with a solution that pleases everybody, given the couple of things that we
And
highlight
And
tonight.
again, that's kind of why
Right.
coming before now, getting
Right.
this addressed now. I know it would have been addressed 10 years ago,
Right.
but at least now we do have everyone in the room and we can
Exactly.
try and get it addressed with as few parties as we can.
And one other thing that should be addressed also, she does have a 50-foot right of way, coming up to my gate, to my property,
And you're 80,
80 Beech Ridge.
you're 80, okay.
When you hit 80 Beech Ridge, that 50-foot right of way goes to a 20-foot right of way from there up. And that's in the deed also. So that also, to get, permits for building and all that, you need at least 30-foot. Or to get permits, so. And I don't know what you guys require for a subdivision, if it's gotta be, 30-foot or what, I don't know. But I know to get a building permit to do any building up on that property, it has to be, 30-foot or more. So that's something that needs to be taken into consideration.
So you're 80 and number 71 is to the south or the east.
Yes. And that's pretty much all I got.
Well, there's a bunch more
Yeah.
items here on the list.
Yep.
You had a note that says no right of way to 71 Beech Ridge Road. What does that mean?
That's
So
71, that, to my knowledge, that lovely property, it's on the right side, right at my
Yep.
property line. That hasn't been brought to anybody's attention that there is an actual deeded right of way. Nobody's seen any deed that shows that there is a right of way through that property. So that's something that would have to be shown, because as of right now, they don't even think they have a right of way, the Lovelies. It's a landlocked piece of property. Nobody knows anything about a right of way. It's been talked about that they want to ask, for a right of way through me. And I'm not willing to give anybody.
But right now.
Why
they
why
can't-
through your property?
I guess that's our property is the only property, I guess, that would, where they can actually get access to that property, they would have to come up just because of the way they ran the pins when they subdivided it years ago, I guess. So the way they did it, I guess they made it so it's landlocked somehow, so it's not, she says there's a right of way, but nobody, I guess nobody can find the deed or
That
So
goes,
it's not built on, the Lovelace property, there's nothing built there.
nothing's built there, no.
this goes back to one of the earlier comments I made, that the updated site map would have to show how access is addressed by every single.
Yeah.
So let me, this road that's shown here on the roadside, that the house, the big building and whatnot, is that the road where you ran poles up? How did you run poles to your property?
There was poles already run to the house that Abden owns already. I got another pole, we had poles put in after all the way up to our property, all the way up the road.
So that's where, but this looks like the road, correct?
That looks like the road, yeah.
Yeah,
But it's not that wide. She says it's 50-foot right away, right when you come in the driveway. You can barely get one car up the driveway. If you met another car, you would have to pull out in the lawn or the ditch on the other side. It's 10 feet wide max. It's not a 50-foot right away. It would definitely have to be widened.
50 foot of space available legally, and then the road just hasn't been. made.
Right, yeah, the road hasn't been put in,
Yeah.
exactly.
You couldn't get an emergency vehicle in any part.
Not the way it's built right now, but yeah.
In the conditions that it's in, you would get a fire engine stock or, an ambulance or, yeah. You
He's
definitely,
trying to get out, then he better move to the side.
Okay. And then, the poles here that you're talking about moving, where are these poles?
well, that's if
located?
they had to be moved. I did some measuring earlier, just roughly, I assume there would be setbacks and stuff too, like from Abden's house, if the roadway's gotta be put in, because the road's pretty much right on his front doorstep, and from what I could check, with town ordinance and laws, isn't there a setback, from the house that would require the roadway be pushed over anyway, or?
That's what I was mentioning earlier, that structures have to be 75 feet from a road.
And I took a measurement earlier, the driveway, the furthest, let's say you're coming out of Abden's house. If you walk across the driveway to get on the other side of the driveway, I measured it 2 hours ago. It's 30 feet. So
So could the road be put on the other side of those poles?
it could be put on the other side of the poles. Yeah,
Development. whatever.
right. And it looks like that's what they were planning on doing, the way it kind of was put up, it doesn't look like that on paper, but if you go up and look at it on the property, that looks like how it would run, on the other side of the poles, and that would be a lot less hassle.
It seems like this road to deal with it,
Yes.
it's gonna take time and money, right?
Yeah, and I'd love to have a new driveway, but I mean, it's gonna cost a lot of money.
Item number 7, 2 runs of fiber optic lines, 1 line Time Water, 1 line fiber. So I assume another 5 grand plus labor. What does that mean?
Yeah, I was just noting, we had fiber optic cable lines run up there. If the power pole's gonna get moved and stuff like that, I just wanted to be noted that, that's gonna cost money, because when I talked to Tidewater Telecom, you can't just drop fiber optic cables on the ground, because they're glass tubes, they break, so you'll have to replace the whole strand, from wherever you unhooked it, the whole distance.
That would be out of your pocket.
When I did that 4 years ago, I spent just on the lines, it was like $3,500. Just that was without labor, that was just fiber optic cable, straight run up. Now with the cost of everything gone up, I mean, I guess, maybe 5,000, I mean. But now, like I said, with Fidium just coming around, they were actually up there today, they were running the new fiber optic cable up, because we're switching to Fidium. So they're running that up all the way up through, so you'll have 2 sets of lines, But like I said, it's possible that, the telephone poles may not need to be moved, if they move the driveway on the other side of where it should be anyway, and it would save a lot of hassle.
Hmm.
But like I said, if somebody, I don't know if code enforcement goes up there and looks, or somebody from your team or whatever looks ahead of time, you know, to see what the site plan is, you know, in person versus just on paper. You know, and you'd see, you know, things look a little different than on paper.
Hmm. Okay. Well, that'll all get taken care of in the survey.
Yeah. And like I said, and the only other thing that I'm concerned about is the sharp left. If you look on the piece of property that they're kind of got hard left, you know, on the map for the right of way, like I said, that should go to the top of my property, not halfway up. Do you see where that sharp left is?
Where the road just ends.
Where it just ends, yeah. And according to the deed, if you read the deed, which I have right with me, it goes from the beginning of the property all the way up to the top pin. It's wrote in the deed. You know, you can't
It
just,
doesn't say where it is on that property.
What?
It says it goes up to end there, but it doesn't say,
yeah, but it says detail that her right of way runs up to that top pin. You can't just stop halfway up a right of way and just hook a hard left through somebody's property. Wherever you want.
but the way to get to that top pin is not described in the deed. It just says it, and that's where it ends.
Right, but there's already a tote road that's already put down right up to it right now,
Oh, along that property
or
line?
along that property, yep. It's already in, it's just not built up, you know, to town standards and all that.
Asking for as built to make this make sense, or the whoever submits a survey to make these lots work has to design a new road. So this is
To meet
basically,
the 2025 standards we have, yes.
so are we asking for two different things or just one? With the solutions, we're asking for the solutions on that map that she
Yes.
submits.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so this would be something to probably talk to the people who are at the subdivision to try and get that settled.
Yeah, and I know the other legal matter, you know, with the illegal subdivisions and all that, that's gonna get dealt with, you know, on our own, we're not gonna bring none of that before you guys. So.
Okay.
But I expect to have legal paperwork, you know, so when's the next meeting? For this, is this gonna get put off for a while, or how long is it gonna be until this
It
gets,
depends until I get a request from Ann to
Yeah.
do another meeting.
okay,
It could be next month, it
Okay.
could be 4 months or 5 months from
okay,
now.
yeah, I'm sure I'll
But
have,
you will get a notice in the,
okay,
in the.
Yep. I'm sure I'll have some paperwork, you know, and all that by the next meeting.
That's on the surveyor, right?
That's why I say I never know.
Does
Anything else?
Matheson still exist?
Does he still exist? I like that.
Well, I know him and I'm pretty, like, is he alive?
Daryl's told me he's alive, just retired. That's what I've been told
Okay.
by Daryl.
But what I'm connecting to that question is just, did they not do something that needs to be checked by somebody? Is there any legal issue there that someone needs to look into? Or is it too
They
long
did not-
ago?
Never got submitted to the,
You're right,
to
yeah.
deeds.
Yeah.
If you look at the left side of the site plans that were submitted, it does have a block for planning board signatures, and it just never came to the planning board.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the issue. And then 15 years later, all this other stuff has happened. And what we do have for plans have increased up, so the registry can't accept it. But the registry is picky about how we need to make the plans.
There's clearly a lot of people here inconvenience, there's time, there's expense. And we are not lawyers, a terrible lawyer. But I just don't know if that's something that needs to make its way into the mix. That seems like an omission, something that was missed that is causing quite an issue now.
And that's why I said it. If it is already in the registry of deeds, then my face will be red and this will be for nothing, but if that plan was never put in the registry of deeds. And I looked in the minutes going back to 2010, I didn't see anything from the planning board, so.
Mhm.
I don't have any records showing that this went through the planning board process.
I'm just wondering who was responsible ultimately for getting that done. Would that be on the landowner? Is that on the surveyor?
Yeah.
It is on the
Okay,
subdivision development.
okay.
All right,
All set?
yeah,
Well,
I
then,
think so.
right.
Anyone else have any comments on this? Evan?
I just have a couple of concerns. I'm Abby Simmons. I just have a couple of concerns, with, setbacks. I got one out front that, the buildings are within 2 feet of the property line, and I just want to make sure that the the setbacks are met. And I don't know if the 75 feet from the building, I didn't realize it was that far. But it could put a strain on the property line to the south. I don't know if there's 75 feet there to even make up to get the 50-foot right away. But that's all, it's the only concerns I have is the setbacks.
Okay. Abden, the lot that you have is the one that has this large house on it.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. So you're surrounded on to the north and south by the north and south are where you got the setback issues.
Yes. Well, it could, yes, correct. To the south and east. Towards the front of the
Oh, right,
house,
'cause this
the
is-
front of the
this is
house,
two lots.
right, the front of the house where the buildings that pre-exist right now, the property line's only like 2 feet away.
Okay.
And then towards the driveway, the house, like Lee said, to the edge of the driveway is 30 feet roughly. And it's not a long distance. You're talking 125 feet. And I don't know if there's 125 feet there. That'll have to serve, that's survey's problem. That's not I just want to make sure the setbacks are met.
And that particular lot line went in at what year?
2010, I believe, something like that.
That's what,
Okay.
That's the only issues I have.
We'll see what the surveyor can do with it.
Yep.
I mean, I think that it's kind of now that the lots surrounding you have been sold, like I don't know what can be done on some of this. I think we're probably gonna have to give a variance on a setback here or there. I mean, with the road, like we could ask for the road to be relocated to give you the setback on the front side.
well, the lot lines, if I read that correct, and Deb didn't have permit, but I don't think they've actually been pinned.
They have not.
What
Still,
difference does that
what do
make?
you think?
I mean, the lot's been divided. I mean, it
Well-
doesn't matter if there's a pin there, right? Like there's a legal
But it
agreement.
hasn't been approved, so the lot line has to still meet that setback requirement of 30 feet. I mean, you
30.
did that's 30 feet. The road is 75.
Yeah.
If that's something that's going before the board of appeals, then that's certainly out, but it's
Okay.
Well, we need a survey first before we can.
survey.
I guess the issue I'm seeing is that there's another building here, right? On the lot in the front on lot 39-3. Correct? Isn't that what this dark line is
Yeah.
here? This is a long building.
Yep.
So that's built right up to the lot line as well.
So is there 60 feet between those two? Is
Yeah.
the question.
I mean, are you
61
gonna,
feet.
I mean,
are we talking about compelling having a building demolished and forcing the sale of the lot in the
Well,
front so that you
well,
can have setback?
Both of
that-
those.
well, yeah, and that was all done in 2010. They have to update it for what it is now, so I don't know what the land surveyor is gonna show as, which is furthest away.
Right, okay. All right. Is there anyone else in the audience that has comments about this? All right. Well, Annie, I think you've got your list of things to take care of in the,
I'll ask
In the upcoming drawing.
you if she has any comments.
Yeah, and there's some issues that Lee brought up. And I think he's under the wrong impression. And he's made some errors about the deeds. The road right away to the top of the pin, that was written in the original subdivision by Country Properties. It had nothing to do with me. And as far as me building a road up through his property, that's never been my intentions. See, before Lee got to that property belonged to me and Abden. Okay? And Abden and I were supposed to rebuild the road over to the left toward the 9 acres to make it acceptable for the setbacks for the house. But we never did it. Abden and I never did it. We had no reason to. Abden was happy living there the way it was. I was happy living there the way it was. So there was no problem. You know, whatever Lee Bennett's got for a problem, that's only occurred in the last 4 years. I haven't lived down there now for 13 years. So whatever's going on down there,
The only problem we got is that.
So,
all I know is Abden bought the house. I traded the lot out back for Ann Crowell to Greg Lovely for a house. So that was just a transaction between me and Greg Lovely. And now he wants to sell that lot. There is an easement deed written, registered at Lincoln County Courthouse. An easement for the Ann Crowell lot to have access to her land. And I've already put the culvert in. The culvert's there already. And I don't know if I'd have to think more about what Lee had to say, but those were the most pertinent issues that I needed to address with you understanding and understanding my intentions is that when I go to this lawyer and I have my deed written up for the 9 acres and the turnaround and whatever else needs to be written, at that same time, I have the opportunity to extract anything out of the deeds that I wish to have extracted.
Okay.
And I can do that. I can do that. But I have no intentions whatsoever of driving or making a road through Lee Bennett, Destiny Robinson's property because it's not my property. Okay. And I have no need to drive up through their lands to get to my 9 acres. I can get to my 9 acres right from the bottom of the road where I'll have a turnaround. Do you understand? I can take a half an acre and make a turnaround and still get to my 9 acres.
I'm sure that your surveyor will go through all the deeds and will solve all these problems to the best of their ability. There's really no point in us arguing about it back and forth.
No, I'm not trying to argue. I just want to make things
real
clear.
plan about how this is going to work out in the final arrangement.
Okay,
So
there was the question of, that we did, ironically bring up, of just timeline. And do you have a projected timeline for when you might have an updated land survey for the planning board?
I'm really not sure, honey, because I will be going under surgery next week or the week after. And I'm going to be out of commission and I can't think straight. I have fog. I have brain fog.
Okay.
I have a aorta that's 7 millimeters ready to bust. I mean, you know, I'm just trying to get this shit done before something happens to me.
Okay,
Okay, please help me.
okay. I will follow up with you on the timeline on that side.
That's all I can do is do the best that I can do.
Okay.
Okay, I know what I'm looking at medically. I'm trying to make this issue proceed as fast as I can. They had a snowstorm.
I understand. People here are curious. You don't have to go into details. And I'll send out notices to neighbors, very similar to what you got for tonight's meeting. Hopefully the next meeting won't have a snowstorm for the first time.
I don't think so. Spring is here.
okay, great. Well, thanks everybody who was involved in that. We're gonna move on to the land use ordinance discussion. I think we're talking about changes that we discussed at the previous meeting in January.
Yeah,
and if anybody wants to leave,
yeah, if any,
this would be a good time.
it's starting to get dry here.
This is kind of
Yeah,
weird.
well, the getting's good.
We'll give everyone a second. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Oh, there's 6.
Oh, that might have been a Pam and Chris. I'm curious who Matt is. You want that?
A student, it says.
I know, okay, thank you, Rebecca.
That was very helpful of me, I know.
Matt, welcome to the world of small government.
Yeah,
He's learning something.
Hey,
so yeah, land use ordinance, the only change is I really had to chat about tonight, or just more or less the question. They're mostly the items that were brought up last time. There weren't that many changes for a lot of the articles. It's mostly two, I guess, three items that I wanted to talk about. First of all, Brendan, you brought up the whole about manufactured housing and it being allowed everywhere.
Including in the historical district.
Yep, here I have the Maine State Statute, 4358, regulation of manufactured housing. Highlighted relevant section, if you'd like to take a look at that.
Thanks.
You wanna read it?
Sure. 2, location manufactured housing. Municipalities shall permit manufactured housing be placed or erected on individual house lots where single-family dwellings are allowed, subject to the same requirements as single-family dwellings, except as otherwise provided in this section.
So it's permitted everywhere and it should be permitted everywhere in the town of Waldeboro, except the industrial district, because that doesn't allow single family homes. So it's allowed in it should be allowed in the historic village district, as long as that manufactured house meets the architectural standards.
What was the
So,
last couple?
the following part of this, section, the next paragraph,
Starts to contradict it.
subparagraph A, no, it doesn't contradict it, it
Thank
just
goodness.
sort of clarifies it. Municipalities may establish design criteria, including but not limited to a pitched shingled roof, a permanent foundation, and exterior siding that is residential in appearance, as long as 1, requirements do not have the effect of circumventing purposes of this section, and 2, design requirements are not used to prevent the relocation of any manufactured housing regardless of its state of manufacture that is legally cited within the municipality as of 1988. So we can still demand that you make your manufactured house look congruous with the rest of the historic districts.
I think it's so tricky, because
Yeah,
they're all have double hung windows, they all have clapboard-like siding, they all have pitched roofs.
You know, some of this is just
You know.
subjective, you know, I mean, who's to say what is compared to this? I mean, we went through this with the,
Volunteers of America.
Lady Greg.
Oh, yeah.
right, I mean, it's like, you know, what I see and what everyone else sees. Some of it's a matter of,
Unless you want to have very specific standards about what that means. It usually is just subjective based on who's reviewing it. And in this case, it would be the code enforcement officer.
Right.
Who's
so
doing
the
the
other.
You're not dealing. with it. Good. I don't think so. But yes, that was the first time I wanted to address. Second was the
So wait a minute, so according to the state, we have to allow,
manufactured housing anywhere, everywhere that allows single family.
but so that's considered, since a town can have more strict laws than the state.
Yeah.
If we had. Would that be a more strict law to not allow? Manufactured housing?
the way that it's written, it says that you can't disallow it. And you can't just say, we're zoning something over here as a trailer park, you can put your trailers over there, and you can't put your trailers in the nicer neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Like that's prohibited, the way that's written.
Pardon my ignorance, but is a manufactured house a double wide? Or a trailer?
It can,
It
it
falls
can be,
into that.
It falls into that?
can be done.
Does a modular?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's so many
Okay.
new things coming out all the time.
A modular is not a mobile.
If you want, I can.
Okay.
If you,
When I hear manufactured, I'm like, that's where I'm having a hard time with the line.
Yeah,
yeah,
There-
Modulars are built in a
if you
factory.
want, I can go grab Mark. He might
The
still
mod-
be outside and he can
Oh, it's
start
up in-
talking
Yeah.
different.
Sure.
Modulars usually are factory built, but they don't necessarily mean that it comes like, so
By
it fits, so it drives down a road.
Mhm.
You know, the width
Yeah.
of the building, you can do a modular any size.
So if they have to put your house together with a crane, it's not a manufactured home.
Well, it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I
it is.
understand what saying
Well-
that could allow for a single or a double wide in that area. I don't know how you make a colonial looking double wide, but
Didn't this say manufactured or did it say mobile?
I believe so.
Can you explain to them manufactured modular homes and whatnot? Oh, boy.
well, a few easy questions.
Yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Stoll, code enforcement.
so the easy way to explain it is, most people understand single wide and double wide, they're called HUD homes. Single wide and double wide homes are basically homes that are built off-site. They're built to HUD standards, and the state of Maine has licensed dealers throughout the state. Those licensed dealers, when they sell one of these single wide and double wide homes, it comes with a sticker, which is called a warranty. And that basically dictates that the owner has a 1-year warranty against anything going on. There's no there's no plumbing, that is done on site. The only plumbing permit is just to hook up to it along with the septic line. And then modular homes is basically, different packages, like they can bring in a couple different sections of the house and put it together, or potentially a second floor and use a crane in order to drop it off. So that is a modular home. And that can depend on whether or not it is, somehow has the finishing touches put on it, or if that's something that the plumbing and electrical is all going to be installed after the fact. So that can go either way. But the single wides and double wides come all pre-done. The wiring, the plumbing, all of that.
So what we're looking at now is the state is saying that we have to allow any type of home to be built in the historic district, for instance. So right now, Max is telling us that a single wide or a double wide has to be allowed to be
If
As
that's
long as-
what,
permitted.
As long as it meets the standards as well.
what do you mean by standards? The setbacks and stuff like that, you're,
Setbacks.
Yeah, yeah.
But in the historic village, we have architectural standards, and so a single family of a manufactured home would still have to meet those.
I think we have to get to work on that.
Yeah.
We could chat about it more. but
yeah, that would be a good legal question.
The bigger point I wanted to raise was that we do have to make that adjustment.
Oh, yeah.
That was the whole point of me showing it, that this isn't me being me with my weird plot, but it's more of just the state has said this is to happen.
So Mike, if you're the code enforcement officer,
Mhm.
and somebody brings in this crazy double wide.
Mhm.
Can you say, this doesn't fit my standard of what I think is an historic should be? Is that your role or how?
That would be a legal question we would have to look up, because I don't know how much we can change on a HUD home. A HUD home basically comes through, I cannot deny a HUD home. Not because of restrictions in areas and stuff like that, but if the state says that, you can't restrict a HUD home from going into a certain location, I can't stop the permitting process because of the way it looks. Those are outside my boundaries of what I can do as a code enforcement officer.
Well, this,
All single and double wides are HUD homes, they all fall under them. as well?
Correct. They're all, they have to meet the HUD standard. So, and that's where that whole guarantee and the state has licensing and.
so the statute says that we can impose additional regulations upon the
Yeah.
appearance of this.
I don't know if Mark heard this requirement. Municipalities shall permit manufactured housing to be placed or erected on individual house lots where single-family dwellings are allowed, so all with the industrial district. Subject to the same requirements as single-family dwellings, except as otherwise provided in the section, which pretty much boil down to design and requirement that would try and circumvent the intention of it.
Intention of the district.
Of the statute. So if we just say something like it has to be 2 stories high, well, that's probably trying to get around the statute. at that point.
So we can't write a rule to prevent that.
It sounds like
Oh, they don't want people to do
It
that.
sounds like I'm asking legal to
Okay.
say whether the historic village standards are gonna have an issue with this.
And to be clear, like, I don't, if someone can live in a house and pay taxes in the land, I don't personally care what the house looks like. This is for me to understand, not that I have a goal in keeping a certain thing from happening.
Well, I'll ask legal after the question.
Yeah, no, not a problem.
You just went home when everyone else was doing, well, I guess not.
Yeah, get a run-
Oh, Mike had a question. My stuff's still over there,
Yeah.
so, yeah, if you got anything else, let me know.
Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, no, not a problem.
Anything else in Article 6?
The only one with Article 6 was I marked that as something we'd come back to. It's the duplex triplex item at the very end.
I vaguely remember this.
Where we have a special requirement where if someone wants to have multiple units in a single house structure, then they'd only have to do the density requirement for that one home. So out in the rural district, you need 160,000 square feet on the lot to have two different single family homes there. But if you're making a duplex out there, you'd only need the 80,000 square feet. And so it was raised. What if I want to make a triplex or a quadplex or just have multiple, pretty much an apartment building out in. I'm gonna just say North Northborough Road. Would I be allowed to use this for an apartment building, or would I have to have 80,000 square feet for each unit? So that was kind of what needed to be clarified. When we're saying duplex, are we just saying 2 units, that's it? Or are we saying we have multiple units tied under one roof?
So, sorry, so, in black is
What we currently have.
what we currently have, and then now we're asking the second half.
So to me, we're talking about the rural district in these examples here. But this
Right.
becomes much more of an interesting question when you move this into the more densely settled areas.
Mhm.
Because our lot sizes are much smaller.
Mhm.
And if we're going to say you can build a 4-unit row of townhouses
Mhm.
on a quarter-acre lot, I think that's, maybe a density level that
Now, modern
is really multifamily and not a duplex, on steroids.
So maybe the language we're talking about is just different based on the district.
I mean, it's certainly less objectionable in the rural district where we have a minimum of whatever it is, 1.8 acres. or
Yeah, 2
something.
acres pretty much.
Yeah. That's less objectionable than doing it downtown and sort of foregoing all of the multifamily requirements, right?
They'd still have to follow all the standards. It's just a matter of how many units would be allowed based on the size of that lot. Like, for example, Volunteers of America, where it was able to propose 36 units on an acre or so of land. Because it's in a historic village that doesn't have a density requirement. If it was a village, they'd have to show they have 5,000 square feet per unit they were proposing. Which I don't think they were able to meet.
How's their grant writing going? They're winning.
That's in the paper.
Is
Yeah.
it, was it in the paper?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And are they doomed?
And we could talk about it later.
All right.
So you asked the right question. Okay, that's it for 6.
That's it for 6. I assume for this density item, just. Hold it off.
I-
table it,
yeah, I
'cause
mean,
it
it's-
seems like to be honest, I was just asked about some clarification. There is no application coming forward on this. If
Okay.
someone wants to come forward and offer to make 100 units somewhere in town, then they can come and we can have a pre-application.
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
all right. So renewable energy structures.
Yep, and then the last one was the solar item that I know was interesting. That was a fun time. I think that was actually the only one where we might be moving into these items. Most of them, I think we could still keep. It's just the last requirement, I believe, that was proposed. Well, actually, there's 2 items. One, Johnny's comments on where the source is. I have no idea what language I could use, but Johnny, if you want, you could just take my copy, but
Yeah.
because those are the only 2 changes really. I just have something in there saying it has to come from a US manufacturing source. I don't know if that's language you're looking for or anything else on ethically sourced.
Right.
I don't really know what I can say on that,
The only-
unless the planning board grants a
The
waiver.
only thing that I objected to was the fact that China, the Uyghurs, they manufacture 90% of it, and that I have a
Well-
moral and ethical objection to that.
And that's
So-
why I have that standard, if you want it as just.
But that other
US
gentleman said he was gonna get his from South Korea, which I have no problem. So I don't know the word, I think just them.
Okay,
Because, because that gentleman was very clear. He said, no, we're gonna get it from South Korea. And I have no problem with that.
I mean, I just have it as US based, but the planning board can give a waiver.
But
But-
we
yeah.
don't know if those South Korean ones are US based.
I mean, the country of origin is not gonna tie it to ethical use.
Okay.
Throw a dart.
Well, it's a lot better than China that we know,
Well,
I mean,
Hopefully.
I would rather,
So,
China can manufacture the panels, sell them to South Korea. South Korea can put their label on it and sell it to us.
My
well,
point
I
is-
just think that's very flippant for people just not to look at this and say, it's a human rights problem,
Yeah.
and I.
That's
for one,
not in
am strongly
question.
Against it.
That's not that's not a question, and I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is I would just use the term ethically sourced and not name a country.
ethically
That's a
sourced,
good way of putting it.
from an ethically sourced.
And if someone in South Korea starts doing something we don't like, it gives you a lot more latitude.
That's a good way of phrasing it. Then we have some time to.
Ethically
So I
sourced,
completely agree with treating humans correctly.
Yeah, that's my major,
an ethically sourced country as determined by the planning board.
Yeah.
I just have to add that last little bit so that so no one can say, well, who's determining this? I'm saying, it's
No.
them.
Well, it gives you enough flex. You need a little bit of,
We'll ask
you need to be able to interpret.
All right.
Where did the 15-foot height requirement come from? Why is that something that we want?
That was one of the other items that was brought up by the audience member, and it was brought up at the last meeting, but we didn't touch that. It was this other one on all on-site newly installed utility and making everything underground that everyone had an issue with, and I removed that. If you have an issue with the 15-foot one, I can also have that removed.
I'd be in favor of striking that.
To.
That seems
allow
like too low
taller-
and not high enough, like.
Well, there's generally speaking, the non-directional solar panels that we see along the side of the highways everywhere are less than 50. But not every commercial solar development is built that way. Like, for example, if you get off of 295 in Brunswick, pull onto Route 1, there's a solar installer right there that has these
Oh, yeah.
sort of shockingly large towers right on the side of the highway.
Yeah, the heat pump
with
place. Oh, yeah.
with motorized
Oh, yeah,
aimable
the
panels,
flowers, yeah.
and they stand 30 feet tall. And like,
Fair.
we want those along the side of Route 1, probably not, but if somebody wants to put those out in the field somewhere where they're not bothering anybody, I don't see why we should be disallowing it.
Well, I guess this all ties into bigger question I was gonna say, I'd have to have. Items prepared for Pam by April 9th to go to the town for votes.
But
I-
how do we say in the middle, it's okay to put in the middle of the field, not, rather than just meeting the regular setbacks? I mean, how do you make that distinction?
Well,
Someone could work with it.
I
And we
guess
could always give someone a waiver for it.
you could always. I guess what I was gonna say was, I was hoping we were gonna have a planning board meeting last month, the snow happened,
Mhm.
so. Do we wanna try and get these items to the June warrant, or are people fine maybe kicking the can until this goes to November? Cause it seems like there's still a bit more discussion on solar or some other
It
items.
didn't seem like any of this is terribly pressing. I'm trying to remember what was in the other
A lot of the other ones,
paragraphs.
a lot of the other ones, like three, were just outlining that Mark and I send out a lot more notices. I think the subdivision one was going to have a lot more pre-application. And specifically say that the planner is dealing with a lot of the administrative stuff, not the code enforcement.
From a workflow standpoint, in your office, is that problematic to not have this taken care of?
These ordinance changes, no. This was all stuff that wanted to have done last year, but we had a weather event to cancel that workshop. I can't win with this.
As long as we're not breaking something, I think it's okay to take more.
No,
Yeah, I agree.
I think the manufactured home thing is the only item that's really more pressing, but even then. I think that's something you could just say, put that before it, and that's just one change. We could even just say Article 6, because that had some of the cleanup items we were doing, like woodworking out of the downtown. Charity items throughout all Waldeboro. I could just do Article 6 minus the duplex, triplex. Oh.
Yeah.
Although the Article 6 also had the changes in setback requirements for industrial and historic village.
Oh, yeah, we were trying to do that so they could sell that fish farm.
Fish.
Yeah. At the corner of North Noblesville Road.
Oh,
32.
that one.
Wasn't that wasn't that the genesis of one of those changes?
I mean, people keep saying that the setbacks are an issue, and I look at it and it is pretty hard to do it.
Yeah.
But the industrial was fine. Historic village, I've had a few people say that there's some setback issues.
Is that fish farm the woman with, she's got eels?
No.
No, different
Was
one.
that- She's great.
Yeah.
I did,
When you say selling, are they trying to sell an existing fish farm or,
No. So if you're going to the transfer station,
right?
just cross the railroad.
Mhm.
It's on your left where there's that one building and those three big lagoons.
right.
That used to be like
It's a hatchery, right?
hatchery, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's just been trying to be sold for a while, but it's kind of hard to do that since wetlands, the lagoons, and then the setbacks pretty much make it hard. for
And the
anyone to use it.
railroad.
Railroad
That's
hasn't been an issue.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's the one I would have paid, that'd be the biggest problem.
Yeah, they usually are.
So. Sorry, Barbara. you guys-
No, that's okay. Finish that. I have one more thing on this.
So I guess for June and to have the required hearing and everything, we could just have Article 6, since that's cleaning up a lot of the bigger mess. items. And it doesn't seem like there was any tension between allowing uses, taking out certain uses, and then it's really just the setback requirements
I would like to see the definitions.
updated. So I can do the definitions as well.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. We have to have a motion on that. Gonna
Uh,
recommend this to the select board?
And then we'll have to hold a workshop. Which, if you remember, the last workshop was like 10 minutes
Prior to.
prior to the town vote in June.
Okay. Not prior to the select board putting this on the warrant in April.
Correct.
Is that with a public hearing?
That's public hearing.
Okay.
Okay. I'll move to recommend the agreed upon changes to Article 6 and Article 15. With the exception of the triplex. lot.
Density bonuses for duplexes.
Correct.
Johnny seconding?
Second,
Discussion?
Article 15, you said, was it 15?
That's the
15 is
definitions, right?
definitions, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Any notes? Any other comments? Let's vote. All in favor? All right. So votes 4-0.
Can I just, I suppose I should have brought this up before we did.
Oh.
the vote.
Never too late.
Tiny homes. So you can have a tiny home on a lot, on a lot that a regular house could be on,
Mhm.
no problem. But can you have a tiny home with an accessory building on it? You can't, because it says no more than one tiny home can be placed on a lot unless the combined square footage of two tiny homes does not exceed 400 square feet, which is 80 by 25, 280 by 25 foot units of two tiny towns.
So
So,
you could have your regular home plus the tiny home,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
You can't do 3 or 4 tiny homes. That's the state law.
So you can't build a village in your backyard.
You can barely do two tiny homes, given this 400 square foot
You
limit.
said that's from a state statute?
That's from the state statute on tiny homes.
So how did Bangor just build that whole tiny home development?
Subdivision. So this is saying one lot. You
Oh,
can't do-
each one was on.
But
its
they're
own.
doing that, or they can do their own special thing, like a
Gotcha.
tiny home in Boulder Park type thing.
Yeah, okay.
we want to do that, we can chat about that for the next updates.
But still, you know, I mean, what brings up this 400 square foot was a limit number
That was the number I had statute
in the state.
of the state.
They're very small.
I was surprised by that as well. I might be able to get the market.
I don't know why we'd want people to be living in 200 square foot.
I
houses.
don't know why they made 190 square feet the minimum when talking about ADUs or anything like that. I don't know how they picked a lot of these numbers. I honestly don't.
But this is the maximum.
Yeah. I
And you're sure you got that right?
I will,
You
I
transcribed
will
that
get
right.
it again.
Hmm?
I will get it.
Was that the minimum?
I guess I'm doing the same as the manufacturer. So that's,
Okay,
I'll do that.
Are we moving on to minutes at this point?
sorry, you have minutes.
You probably read them months ago. There they are. We got minutes from October and January.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I can,
And because it's just my office.
yeah, I'll mail them and if you never get them,
Yeah,
just,
Yeah.
just let me know.
He was here for the October meeting and not in January. That's why it seems like I haven't seen him in 6 months. It's been almost 6 months.
John or
Eric,
Eric? Yeah, apparently he is on vacation right now.
So the other grant question I had, I should wait till after. the thing.
For a motion to approve minutes?
Are you making that motion?
Yes. Yes.
well, it's unless you're at the meetings.
They can approve them even if they weren't there.
Really?
Yeah,
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, how can you?
he's the
appoint-
chairman.
Well, how can you vote on minutes when you're not even there?
I thought that was the rule.
Oh, well,
I
if
thought
that's the
you had
case,
to
I
be
will
there.
recuse myself from.
No?
I was here in January, right?
No, you don't have to be here.
So I was absent, so I can't vote on. I
Well,
don't know even why I was.
if he wasn't there and I wasn't there, you aren't
It's-
ever gonna have enough people
you-
to approve them.
It's usually been just this practice
it
that the
even
board
happen?
wanted to adopt. I never wanted to stop it.
Oh.
I don't even remember not being there.
That's an excellent statement.
It says here, I wasn't there, but I never missed these meetings.
You Remember the bells? You remember the-
I'm gonna use that in a sentence later. That's
Are
awesome.
you
No.
sure, Max? I wasn't here.
So it sounds like we'll table this.
Wow.
Why don't we approve, we'll table what? Why don't we approve the meetings? We don't have to
You
do.
do whatever you
That's
want.
what you were there for.
Okay, that's- I did what I know.
decide.
Okay. Okay.
I was letting Barbara read them first. Before we
Okay.
make the motion.
Can't leave them in laughing too much.
This is what happens when it's not close to 8 o'clock. We start goofing off. Because we feel we have to keep killing time until 8 o'clock.
That's after like 3 budget meetings, like this still feels early. So.
Okay, well. I'm sorry we're not up to your standards.
That was a compliment, not a complaint.
Doesn't seem like maybe you could vote for a pre-app if you weren't there. This is not seeming.
Well, the other thing is, these are meetings we have recorded and you can see online. So that's kind of the other reason I'm not stitching on. Like, if the
If
board,
it's posted. Some, takes a while to get posted sometimes.
the live streams are on YouTube.
Yeah, the live streams you can replay immediately.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I went looking for some.
There might be an
recent
issue.
ones.
Sometimes they're not labeled in a way that you'd expect. Sometimes you have to look for the date they were posted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Alright.
Well, I tried.
Any comments on the minutes?
Fabulous.
Well, the 16th, it said there was a poison pill. What
Yeah.
was that? Was that, did you say that?
I did, yeah.
yeah,
I
I
just,
remember the words.
do you remember that? Because I'm trying to think what that.
We were talking with Steve Carmichael about his proposal to move all of the transformers and switchgear. into
Yeah.
an Underground
That's one I
vault.
was scratching
Yeah. I watched that one. You should have heard me in the living room. I was yelling at the screen. It's like football.
Okay.
You said the thing I thought.
I'm getting all giddy now.
All right.
If there's no comments, I'll second Ruben's motion to approve.
Further discussion?
I approve.
All right,
Friday.
4-0, minutes are approved. There was something else on the agenda, wasn't there?
I think it's just comments.
Comments? I don't have any comments. Anybody got any comments?
I've made enough comments. I gotta stay.
All right,
So,
let us adjourn.
well,
Wait,
I have an exciting thing for what next month's planning board meeting might be.
Oh, good, please.
Thank you for your enthusiasm.
Because, why?
So there might be a joint subdivision with the town of Warren. So it's rare.
Come into storage unit.
No, it's not a storage unit. It's rare. And I'm making sure I'm talking with my counterpart in Warren to make sure it happens. But what happened was there was someone who was, and Mark's just in time to hear about it. I was just about to talk about the joint subdivision meeting.
Oh, yes, yes.
So there is a piece on Finntown Road that in its deed says it goes from Waldeboro into Warren or Warren to Waldeboro, however you want to do it. It has been bought, so already split once, and the people who have bought the two want to subdivide it even further. So taking that one lot and turning it into 5 lots by the end of the year. Under state statute, that means there has to be a joint subdivision process between the two towns' planning boards.
Are the 5 lots along Fintown Road?
Yes.
Whose laws do you go by, Waldeboro's or Warren's? I mean, our land use. Who do you go by?
We're fortunate enough with the fact that they are splitting it so that 2 lots will be done entirely in Waldeboro and 3 lots will be done entirely in Warren. So Warren will worry about their 3,
see.
we'll worry about our 2. We just have to make sure it goes through a site plan process.
This is highly irregular.
It is, it does not happen that often.
Maybe that'll solve a problem if it gets done.
Wow.
So I am talking with the developer and folks in Warren. Fortunately, they have their planning board meeting the same night as us. So
Do they same lot sizes as we do
Wow.
for that area?
I don't believe it's the same. So next month, there's a chance that they'll just come over here and we'll do the subdivision pre-application.
Okay,
And there is the ability for both planning boards to agree to do waivers for future joint meetings so that you can just deal with the subdivision separate from them, but it doesn't actually seem necessary since it's actually a pretty clean cut we get to go through.
This seems like if they're all along the road, that it's gonna be simpler probably.
I think for the Waldeboro side, they were planning on putting in a little right of way to get to one of the back, to the second lot for theirs in Waldeboro.
They're the same minimum lot size?
Not more. But again, the Warren Planning Board will worry about the 3 lots being done in their side for their minimum lot size. We only have to worry that the 2 in Waldeboro will follow our minimum size.
I like not having one lot that's in 2 towns. I think that'll be good.
Yes. I really like the applicants doing that.
Yeah.
I should stress that. But that's a potentially fun meeting next month. But I'll let you know if they actually put it forward to us.
Are these subdivision people that have done subdivision before?
I believe
Developers?
that they already have their land surveyor and everything. So it might even be like 2 meetings.
Test pits done and all
Yeah,
that?
they're working, I think so.
There's 2 real estate brokers from Camden, I can't remember what.
But they've done a lot of this before and they have a surveyor working. So it might be very quick.
Hey. Here's
We don't-
stuff being.
We don't do joint meetings that often, so it's I think it's exciting. But.
Put another leaf in this table?
All right,
Will your counterpart be a town planner? Will you have?
yeah, he's my
Are you the town, are you for the town, Warren? No?
No,
No, my coworker who also works at Midcoast Council of Governments, he's contracted out to be the Warren planner.
For the night or in general?
No, in general.
Okay, just wondering if they had.
Warren has a very similar thing to what I have here in Waldeboro.
Well, we're gonna have fun with that.
Oh, yeah. All right, that's my bit.
Someone needs to move.